So if you've been following the news at all, you're probably familiar with this Cash for Clunkers program where you get $3,500 or $4,500 when you trade in a gas-guzzling old clunker for a new car. But it's been so popular, it's out of money. They thought this was going to go for 3 or 4 months. They spent almost $1 billion.
My husband runs in last night after being on the internet and tells me that this is the case, and I thought there's got to be more to the story. So Dennis Slater from University Chevrolet is with us today. He's going to clear this up as well as some other things that you probably don't know and need to before the end of the year if you're going to be purchasing a car or even renewing your driver's license. Hey, Dennis.
How are you?
So, Dennis, we got this story right off the press. It says the Cash for Clunkers good for one more day, and that's today. So it ends today?
Well, you know, we've all got to sit back and kind of find out what's going to happen here. We've been talking about this program for the last 3 weeks on here, and I think we probably caused so much hype that it got everybody out there buying, and the government's
all Studio 10's fault.
It's all Studio 10.
It starts right here.
We've done a great job. You know, the reality of it is this program did, as we've talked about, start on July 1, and there's 20,000 dealers in the country. So 20,000 dealers, a good number of them, including ourselves, began to promote the program, began to accumulate some sales. And they finally just announced the final rules, it was a week ago, we talked about it. And the next day, the lines were open to go on and register. Well, 20,000 dealers and probably 60,000 scrapyards all tried to get on the internet at the exact same time. It took me 7.5 hours to register.
Goodness.
Hey, and Lisa's just telling us that the House is trying to pass a $2 billion program to keep this going.
Yeah.
So they are working on, they're scrambling here in the 11th hour.
They're scrambling in the 11th hour, and part of the 11th hour is they're all going on vacation for a month. Let's not forget that.
That's true.
Oh,
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Now, I mean, some of the stuff we've had, and we've talked about it before, that, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have some relationships with some big law firms and some other people that know a lot about the car business. And, you know, they originally, I'm told, did actually approve $4 billion for this program. But when it was signed into law, they only allocated $1 billion. I just don't think that they understood the domino effect. The auto industry is a massive industry, and it's got an amazing effect on our economy in general. This $1 billion that's out there, and it's not spent yet. What it is, it's a fear that because of all the activity they've seen in the first few days with the pent-up backlog of sales that the dealers had. So actually it's 30 days of sales that are trying to be stuffed through the system in 5 days.
Right.
But they're projecting that there's a lot of dealers out there that haven't gotten them. I talked to a friend of mine in Phoenix on the way here this morning. He's got 30 of them that he hasn't even submitted yet. He did 19 yesterday.
Oh my, that's a good day.
Yeah.
Heck, that's a good weekend.
So there is a lot out there. They've only spent, I think they've only spent $97 billion. But remember, we said last week $50 billion was for administrative fees. But I think that the backlog of program payments that are out there certainly is indicating that the program's working.
And you were telling us you heard some misinformation on the radio this morning.
Oh, yeah.
You want to straighten this out.
You know, I read this on the internet last night, and then this morning, I think I mentioned to you earlier, I got up and I put in a new email address, questions@chevroletoftampa.com. And that's out there for anybody. Send me a question, I'll get it my BlackBerry on, so whatever you want to know. But I turn on the radio, and there's a talk show radio, and somebody's bashing the government, and this guy is saying, yeah, and all this cash for clunker money, people are going to have to pay taxes on it. And I'm going, no, they don't. No, wait, I'm trying to get the phone number to call in.
So that is not true. You do not have to pay taxes on your cash for clunkers.
$3,500 or $4,500. It's a rebate from the government. It is not taxable. But this program in general is a great program. And you know, looking in retrospect, as I said, I don't think people understood the domino effect and how big this car industry really is. And it was allocated to sell 250,000 cars. Well, that's 250,000 cars out of a pace right now that's 10 million for the year.
Oh, wow.
So it's a fair number, but it's not the end. Now, there's been a pent-up demand for a number of months because we know how bad things have done. We've talked about all the programs that are out there with all the manufacturers, and this program is a good program. It's a good program because it does a number of things. It, A, stimulates the sale, but it also gets people that have the ability to now buy a car that they couldn't before. But more so, this $3,500 or $4,500 puts a customer in a position where they can use it as a down payment. They get another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 we've seen from the factory for a down payment. And all of a sudden now they're financing their new vehicle at a reasonable price for a reasonable term, and you're creating the next cycle of sales.
Right.
So this program worked very well in Europe. And honestly, if the government, and there was talk early on before the bankruptcies happened, of this program actually being instituted. And if they'd have done this one first, I think we'd see a lot of different things happening today than we're seeing right now.
So we're working on getting the cash for clunkers extended, but now some other fees are going up.
You're all about transparency, Dennis, and you feel that there's some things we need to make people aware of that are coming up through the end of the year.
Well, yeah, it's important. When we talked about what we're going to talk about this week, we didn't know there was going to be the new revelation about the cash for clunkers shortfall. The tag fees in the state of Florida. Now, I don't begrudge them. They're losing revenue all over from tourist and sales tax and everything. But the tag fees, the transfer fees, the registration fees, every fee for the state is going up probably an average of 75 to 100%. So just a typical Florida title transfer is going up 155%. The original certificate on a new vehicle is going up 136%. To register your vehicle, it's 68% more, and each of these has a website. You can go on there. But the thing that the issue is, as you say, transparency. We want people to know that when they're coming in right now to purchase a car, that these fees are there.
Right.
Now, we used to estimate somewhere between $100 or $250 for your tag fees, and everybody wants an out-the-door price or give me a payment, and these numbers are included in there now. Now you're looking at accruing about $400.
But now these new prices or these new rates don't go into effect until September 1st. So if you buy before September 1st, you still get the old rate.
You get the old rate, but you've probably only got about a 2-week window because there's about a 2-week process to get the paperwork done, and it's September 1st, whatever they process is at the new rate. So there really is about 2 weeks. So you've got the Cash for Clunker program happening. Get in there and do something before the government does something else. You've got the GM programs, the Ford programs. You've got, in Florida, you've got these tax increases. It's a difficult situation right now.
So now more than ever, especially with these new fees going up, is really a great time to buy.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I don't see the government just pulling the plug on the thing. I think that they're going to go back into session. I think that they're going to look at it. They say, look, it's better than we thought, but, I mean, what do they expect? I mean, if 20,000 dealers are each going to sell an extra 50 cars, that's a lot of cars.
Now, we've told you a lot of information today, but it's probably stirred up more questions. So, again, we want to remind you that Dennis has a new email address, which is
questions@ChevroletofTampa.com. Send
and it goes
any
right,
question, goes right to my BlackBerry,
right to
I'll get back to you. It's the same avenue that we use live chat for. So.
Let's see if we can get a question into Dennis before we go to commercial. So questions at Chevrolet of Tampa. Oh, you don't have it with you?
It's out there.
We made him turn it off.
That's right. All right. Well, I'm sure you're going to get a ton of questions.
But I tell you, we get a lot of phone calls during the segments every week, so I thought that if we can get an email communication going on, that'd be good for us.
Well, we'll let you know if we hear from you, and Dennis gets your email. University Chevrolet, there's all the information for you. Of course, that's all.